Seriously mind-bending idea, so let's dive into the evidence and see if we can unravel this incredible timeline together.
I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible, right? We look at giant redwood trees and think of them as these ancient symbols of Earth. And Saturn's rings? Come on, they feel like they've just always been there. So how could a living animal actually be older than both? Well, that's the exact question we're here to figure out.
All right, so to crack this case, we're basically going to become time-traveling detectives. We've got three main subjects to investigate: the shark, the tree, and Saturn's rings. By piecing together clues from the fossil record and even data from deep space, we're going to build a timeline that might just change the way you see, well, pretty much everything.
First up, our prime subject, the shark. We tend to think of them as modern-day predators, right? But their story, their real story, begins in a version of our world that is almost unrecognizably ancient. Let's take a look at the evidence.
This is the whole key right here. The earliest evidence we have for shark ancestors are these tiny shark-like scales, and they date back a staggering 450 million years. Just to put that into perspective for you, that's a time before the first real plants had even started to conquer the land.
But you know, it's not just about their age, it's about their sheer resilience. Sharks are the ultimate survivors. They've lived through count them, five separate global mass extinction events. That includes the asteroid that wiped out the dinosaurs. Each one of these events totally reshaped life on Earth, but the sharks, they just kept on swimming.
So what's their secret? How did they pull it off?
Well, in a word, diversity. See, sharks aren't just one thing. Over hundreds of millions of years, they've evolved to live everywhere, from the deepest parts of the sea to shallow reefs. They eat everything from tiny plankton to massive whales. This incredible variety meant that no matter how the world changed, some group of sharks was always perfectly adapted to survive.
Okay, so we've established that sharks are ridiculously old. But older than trees? That one still feels a little hard to swallow. So let's open our second case file and investigate the very first forests.
Now, when scientists talk about the first tree, they're usually talking about this one, Archaeopteris. It's extinct now, and it didn't look exactly like a modern tree. But it had a woody trunk, it had leaves, and it formed the first real forests on our planet, creating a brand new kind of habitat.
And here it is, the date we have from the fossil record. The earliest known forests, the ones filled with Archaeopteris, they showed up around 350 million years ago. Now, that was a huge moment for planet Earth, but pay attention to that number.
Let's just put them right next to each other. Shark ancestors at 450 million years, and the first trees at 350 million years. The math here is pretty straightforward. Sharks had already been cruising the oceans for about 100 million years before the first real forest ever grew on land. So, yeah, case closed on that one.
And now for what might be the most surprising piece of the whole puzzle. We're leaving Earth entirely and heading out to our final case file, those majestic, beautiful, and seemingly eternal rings of Saturn. You know, for a very long time, the age of Saturn's rings was a total mystery. But as this quote explains, everything changed because of NASA's Cassini spacecraft. In 2017, right at the end of its mission, Cassini made these incredible, daring dives between the planet and its rings. It acted like a probe, and it gave us the data we'd been waiting for.
And the results were, well, they were stunning. The data showed the rings are only between 10 and 100 million years old. In cosmic terms, that makes them newborns. Basically, scientists figured out that the rings are incredibly bright and clean for their size. If they were older, they would have collected a lot more cosmic dust and gotten much darker. They're just too shiny to be ancient.
Let's put that number into a context we can all understand. While T-Rex and Triceratops were walking around here on Earth, Saturn was probably just a plain old planet with no rings. That iconic halo that we all know? It's actually a pretty recent addition to our solar system.
All right, we've looked at the evidence for all three: sharks, trees, and Saturn's rings. Now it's time to bring it all together and really see the complete picture of this mind-boggling timeline.
I mean, when you put it all in a chart like this, the scale is just staggering. The bar for the sharks completely dwarfs the others. It's not even close. This just goes to show you how profoundly ancient sharks are, not just for life on Earth, but even on a solar system scale.
So let's walk through that final timeline one more time. First, 450 million years ago, shark ancestors show up. Then, a whole 100 million years pass before the first forests grow. And after that, an enormous stretch of time, over 250 million more years goes by before Saturn's rings even pop into existence. The sequence is clear, and it definitely answers our big question.
And hey, if that wasn't enough to blow your mind, check this out. Sharks aren't just older than Saturn's rings. They're older than Polaris, our current North Star. They're older than that beautiful Pleiades star cluster you can see in the night sky. In the time sharks have existed, our entire solar system has done almost 2 full laps around the Milky Way galaxy.
So this is an absolutely fantastic piece of trivia, for sure. But beyond just being a fun fact to share, what does this comparison actually teach us about science, and maybe even our place in the universe? This quote right here gets to the absolute heart of how science works. The statement that sharks are older than trees isn't some kind of absolute, unchanging truth. It's a conclusion, and it's based on the very best evidence we have right now from the fossil record.
Look, could a geologist tomorrow dig up a 500-million-year-old tree fossil? It's possible. And if that happened, guess what? The science would change to fit the new evidence. But for now, based on mountains of data, the timeline holds up. Science is a process. It's not a book of facts that never ever change.
When you really boil it all down, this amazing comparison gives us 2 really profound things to think about. First, it's just this incredible testament to the tenacity of life and how sharks have managed to navigate these catastrophic changes. And second, it shows us that the universe itself, even its biggest, most famous structures, isn't static. It's dynamic, it's evolving, and sometimes it's surprisingly young.
So it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If a discovery can completely rewrite our understanding of something as familiar as Saturn's rings, what other huge assumptions are we making right now about our world, our solar system, and our universe that are just waiting for the right piece of evidence to be completely turned upside down?